Let's make some noise. Come on.
Yes, indeed, Nick Foles. Let's make some noise. Welcome back, everybody, to another rousing episode of The Final Word with MattyB here on the It's a Wrap Sports Network with your boy MattyB on the call on this lovely, glorious Wednesday wet night where I'm at. I don't know where it's doing where you're at, but it's been raining for about 24 hours for where I live. Anyway, it's great to be back here. Our second episode of the week, but unfortunately, yes, our final one. It's the final word of the week, as we're still working through the post-game show limitations that we're under right now. But hopefully, and I maybe I shouldn't say hopefully, because if I'm coming back 5 nights a week, that's because one of our teams that we cover here on this network is no longer playing, and that's maybe not something that we should be wishing for, but that's kind of what we're dealing with right now. But it's a good problem to have. So glad to be here. And that means when we're together, we have to maximize our time, just like we did yesterday. And we're going to try to maximize it tonight the same way. And as our show title indicates this evening, I got some pressing issues I need to address. There has to be some things that have to be taken care of on this show tonight. Everywhere from our discussion to some of the show features that we do that we haven't done in a very long time. As I promised you last night, we're going to actually lead off with the of the night segment. We're actually going to do the card segment as well before we get into the meat and bones of our conversation. So I just want you guys to be aware of that. So because I've been real negligent and we're running out of time. I got the NHL draft is coming up here at the end of June, early July. I got the MLB draft bearing down on us in mid-July. And I'm about like 4 Phillies prospects through. So I got to get back on the stick, especially when I don't know how often I'm coming on the air throughout the next few weeks. So that's what we're going to do. But the other pressing issues are something that we're going to have to talk about tonight, because we have pressing issues with all of our teams tonight, or some of the featured teams that we talk about. Pressing issue number 1. Noah Cates been ruled out for the remainder of the Carolina Hurricanes series with a lower body injury. How does that affect the Flyers? And, it's not like they're playing with great odds to begin with. Now they're going to have to be faced with a pretty key player, offensively, rotationally wise in Noah Cates. He hasn't really been lighting up the scoreboard or score sheet, but he is a very vital part in the rotations of those lines. The Flyers recalled Jet Lachenko from the OHL today. So I don't know if he'll get any time on the ice. I hope he doesn't. Honestly, I really don't want to deal with that. This is not the time of the year to judge by a learning curve. I need people that can go in there and perform. But Lachenko has joined the team, at least in a taxi squad configuration. But Noah Cates is being ruled out for the rest of the series. Is not good news for the Flyers. They need every single person that they can potentially bring here to play. And as I mentioned, he's not lighting up the scoreboard, but he's still very important when it comes to the rotations of those lines. How do the Flyers fill it in? What forwards are going to be moved? What forwards are going to see more time? What forwards are going to see less time? Does MattyB Michkov benefit from this by getting more time on the ice? Or is it a bad thing that MattyB Michkov might get more time on the ice? Or does he not get more time on the ice? We're all going to start finding out the answers to those questions tomorrow, but that is not good news. And it's pretty upsetting if you're a Flyers fan that Noah Cates will be out for the remainder part of the season. The other thing I want to talk about, and of course our Phillies, lighting the world on fire, 8-1 now under Don Mattingly, a come-from-behind win tonight when they pretty much picked up for Zach Wheeler, who did not pitch all that well. I mean, he wasn't terrible. Still went into the 7th inning. But they showed some offensive pop late in the game and capped a 6-3 come-from-behind win. But the pressing issue I want to discuss with the Phillies, and we'll discuss anything you want with the Phillies, it's twofold. Fold 1, the Bryce Harper comments. He's tripled down on these comments since the firing of Rob Thompson. Something to the effect that we were all just waiting around to see what was going to happen with Rob. It's been sort of a lightning rod topic today, or over the last few days, actually, since he dropped the first one. As I said, he's kind of tripled down on these comments over the past week. What does he mean? Does he mean that the team never really was into Rob Thompson being here in 2026 and they were playing possum, waiting for the Phillies to fire him? I mean, was the team lying down and not playing hard for the first 28 games of this season to try to get the manager out of here? Or as things went south, did they just stop and be like, okay, well, we're not going to put any more energy into this until the franchise makes a decision about what they're going to want to do with their manager? I'm very interested to know what your opinion about his comments are. Are they directed at not playing for Rob Thompson from the very outset of the season? Or are they directed more at, as things began to go bad, they just didn't want to like expel more energy until the organization or the franchise made a decision about what they want to do with Rob Thompson? But very interesting stuff coming out of Bryce Harper over the last week about the Rob Thompson firing. So that's on the table tonight as we will talk. And then we're going to continue the conversation we started last night, because Alec Bohm tonight, he did play until he was removed as a pinch for a pinch hitter late. 0 for 2 tonight, 159 now on the season. Don Mattingly says we're going to play him until it becomes a problem that we can't play him anymore. And that was out of his own mouth. And I paraphrase, of course, because that wasn't exactly what he said. But as we talked last night, the power bat, the power right-hand bat, or third baseman, or a combination power right-handed bat hitting third baseman. What are the Phillies? If you had obviously something's got to give. Either Alec Bohm has got to start playing like he knows how to play baseball, or he needs to sit. But then you have a big hole at third base because there's nothing MLB ready. Kinda. There are MLB ready prospects, or I should say pieces in the minor leagues that can come up here. I don't know what they're going to provide you offensively. And then there's the right-handed power bat. Now, Garcia is starting to kind of hit. He had a nice big home run tonight. He was brought here to be that right-handed power bat. Are we still patient and waiting for Garcia to blossom into that right-handed power bat? As we talked a lot about Mike Trout last night and potential future being reunited with the Phillies, or being reunited with this, coming home into this area. So if you had to choose between getting a third baseman or a right-handed power bat, or a third baseman who hits right-handed and is a power bat, what would you want to do? And how, and then more importantly, how do you do it? Who is it? How do you do it? And what do you want to do? So I'm going to float out some theories to you tonight as we're, I don't know, the Phillies are really ripe with a lot of options right now inside their system. There isn't too many players down in the minor leagues that are third basemen that are ready to come up. There's one, and we'll get into talking about him in a little bit, but he's not a power bat. So you'd be replacing a third baseman for a third baseman. And I don't necessarily know. He is a right-hander. He does bat right, but he's not a power bat. But I think it's a name that we might have to start talking about here soon, as the situation with Alec Bohm is hitting epic proportions. So those are the conversations that are on the discussion points that are on the board tonight, pressing issues that I have to get out of the way in terms of the way we're talking about things. And, of course, the stuff that we're going to do to lead off the show tonight. I'm not going to let it slide. We are going to do the of the night and the card segment like in the next 5 minutes. But before I do that, let's remind everybody what is happening this week currently here on the network. As you can see, it is Wednesday, and we did have the Pittsburgh Sports Desk earlier tonight. Mike Laro had you for the Fightins final, and I am here with you for the final word to round out your night. And then tomorrow we got some post-game in for you. I got you on the Fightins final, and Mike will be here for Game 3, Flyers Hurricanes, for Clear the Ice. So everything else that's happening on the network this week, make sure you're liking, sharing, and subscribing, and checking us out. Really do appreciate it, and it really helps you out. Let's go to the combinations here, or the combos. Let's go 8-1 under Don. Yeah, amazingly, 8-1. And they're finding new ways to win. Every night it seems to be they're finding new ways to win. Are we supposed to just forget about the first 28 games? And again, it goes back to the Bryce Harper thing. What did he mean by his comments about Don Mattingly? Or not Don Mattingly, about Rob Thompson and the organization? And what the hell happened in those first 28 games? And does somebody owe me 28 baseball games? Because I'm seeming like it might be the case. Jet Lachenko, I have now lost total hope. Yeah, I mean, listen, Steve, losing Noah Cates, it doesn't necessarily hit you in the face with the offensive production, but it does hit you in the face when it comes to a viable option to rotate in and out of those lines. He is NHL caliber player. He can play in this game. He is somewhat of has been a somewhat very important cog on this team for the past 3 seasons. And I have much faith and hope and confidence in him than I do in Jet Lachenko, or actually in MattyB Michkov's case as well. So, but yeah, the Flyers recalling Jet Lachenko, I don't think that's got to be just a body. If things get to that point, if things get really desperate, then maybe you see him. But I don't think Jet Lachenko is ever going to see the ice in this series. And God help us if he does, because things might have gone extremely bad. Right-handed power bat. So Steve's going, he wants a right-handed power bat. So we're going to ride. So you're going to ride out the Alec Bohm, Edmundo Sosa platoon. Can you throw Garrett Stubbs in there too? So you're going to ride out the platoon situation at third base, or Alec Bohm specifically at third base. You want a right-handed power bat, and you want Gabriel Raconis Jr. Well, listen. It's not completely off the cuff. I like Gabriel Raconis Jr. too. And unfortunately, this injury that he suffered in training camp or spring training, wherever it was, I don't think he's even played a game. He's another one of the walking wounded down there in Lehigh. So I don't think we're going to see Gabriel Raconis Jr. anytime soon. I think he's still hurt. I haven't seen him come across my his stat lines haven't come across any of the things I monitor, so I'm pretty certain he's still hurt. But I don't know, man. Listen, it's not such a far out concept. If he was not hurt, I would definitely be in on that. 4. What you saying there, Star Wars? What's Star Wars saying? 479 for what? 4-7 -79 for 16. What the hell are you talking? What is that? What's 7? 4 and 7. I'm sorry. 4 and 7, 9 for 16. What is 4 and 7, 9 and 16? What? Don't speak in code to me. You got to speak English. I like how Arun Escobar and Nori are playing. They're playing great. Dante Nori, or not so much. Actually, I'm more impressed with Arun Escobar than I am with Dante Nori. Both of them will be in AAA, but by the end of the year. 100%. 100% think that's the case. But they are not major league. I don't care how good of a story Dante Nori was. He's not ready for the major leagues. He's not. I know a lot of people are starting to clamor for him. Michael Papernick on this show talks about him every night. Worse than I used to talk about friggin' Logan O'Hoppe. I'm not necessarily thinking he's ready for the majors. I don't think he is. I just don't. Just based on the fact that he's never played above AAA or AA. And he got to AA late last season. As far as Arun Escobar, similar situation. Showed up in AA late last season, and he needs and deserves his opportunity to get a foothold on AA. And then once he starts to, as he's been lately, flex his proverbial muscle, then go up to AAA. And if you can send him to AAA next month and he's still batting 700, that's great. But Escobar plays second base. What are we doing with second base? Are we going to move Stott to third? Now, that might be an option. Move Stott to third. I think Stott could handle it. He's a little undersized for a third baseman, but, dire times call for dire measures. I think Stott could be a short-term fix with a Mundo Sosa platoon. But Escobar plays second, and Nori's an outfielder. So if you're just asking me about them specifically as they're sort of tracking their progress, absolutely. They're killing it in AA. But as far as replacements for the Alec Bohm situation, I don't know if we can really manipulate either one of these guys unless you're going to run Stott at third, Escobar at second, and run a platoon with Sosa and Stott. I don't know. Nori may make it here next year. He may. Again, and I'm okay with that. And Aiden Miller, the whole Aiden Miller thing is really pissing me off because who knows? First of all, no one's talking about it. No one gives you any sort of specific answers of what's going on. I know he hasn't started baseball activities, but we don't know what the deal with his injury is. We know it's in his back or lower back, but they're not giving us any solid information. And every day that crosses and every day that goes by, every day that I start thinking that Aiden Miller's 2026 is pretty much gone. So that means everything with Aiden Miller is pushed back a year, at least a year. Because the guy just started out at AAA, just got there at the end of the season. They're going to have to give him a whole season. I mean, who knows how long it's going to take him to get back into baseball shape in 2027. I mean, hell, even if he comes back in 2027. So the whole Aiden Miller thing and, holding on for Aiden Miller to show up here next year or some point this year, that's not happening anymore. And that makes the situation with Bohm even worse because Bohm is a free agent. What do you do here at third base? Because now you have a complete hole at third base in 2027. Because Aiden Miller is not taken. He's not going to be a Philly in 2027. God forbid, he might not even be an Iron Pig in 2027. So this Aiden Miller thing is a lot worse than I think a lot of people are ready to admit to it yet. And I'm really concerned about it. 4 through 6 hitters, 9 through 10. Yeah, they were 4 through 7 hitters. Cleanup is 7. Cleanup through 7 is 9 for 16. Yeah, listen. Tonight was a little bit of a late power surge, late offensive surge, but it's good to see that it happened because it wasn't happening before. Now it is. Now all of a sudden things are waking up and they're playing actual 9 innings. So I'm very, very, very happy in how the Phillies are playing. 8-1 now under Mattingly. Not only are they scoring runs, they're getting solid starting pitching. Wheeler was not the best tonight, but he was still good enough to go into the 7th inning. And that's something that wasn't happening a week. That wasn't happening 10 days ago. It's amazing how this thing turned around so fast. And does Rob Thompson turn it around? Do you think that happens? All right, we'll get back to Bryce Harper's comments here in a minute because apparently that wasn't going to happen. But Sawers is done with the Rays experience or experiment, whatever he's saying there. I get what he's saying. Yeah, I am too. I said it, and I've said it. I think I even said it the night that he got here to hit that home run. He's just not ready for the MLB. But because we have such an issue with the power from the right-handed side, he's going to stay here until Garcia can pick up the mantle on his own. But you're right. I'm done too. Is Miller? I don't, Steve, your guess is as good as mine. I have no clue what's going on with Aiden Miller. All you're getting is snippets from the manager almost on a week-to-week basis. He's not, what Mattingly say, he's not even started baseball activities yet. So I don't know what he's healing from. And 2, I don't know if he's healing. And 3, I don't know anything about Aiden Miller. I'm asking for anybody out there that might have the inside. Is Aiden Miller listening to this? You want to pop on real quick and tell us all how you're doing? What's going on, Star Wars? How are you? Garcia through Marsh are 9 for 16. Yeah, I mean, Marsh has been a constant hitter all season. Garcia is starting to pick it up. Is that going to make everybody forget about the power bat issue from the right-hand side? But I don't know. I think it's something we still got to explore. But even if you don't want to explore the power bat right-handed thing, I think the conversation about Alec Bohm needs to have happened about his future with this team. What was Harp's comments? So there were actually 3 of them. And it was given periodically since the firing of Rob Thompson. And essentially, to paraphrase all 3 of them. And he's tripled down on them. He said it once, then he came back, said it again, and he's tripled down on it. And it's basically the same thing. And paraphrasing, the organization, the players were just waiting to see what the organization was going to do about Rob Thompson. And what does that mean? And how does that relate to the fact that this team was struggling and if they were ever going to pull themselves out of the struggle bus until they fired Rob Thompson? And it could be taken many different ways. It's like a very, Why even bring it up, man? Okay, we understand you were struggling, right? We understand that the team was struggling, but are you saying that the team gave up on Rob Thompson after the 9-19 start, or somewhere into that area of 9-19 they gave up? Are you saying that the team was pissed off that Rob Thompson was brought back in 2026 in the first place? And are you also saying that the team was lying down until the organization made a decision about Rob Thompson for the season? And are you saying that you guys never would have played for Rob Thompson? And was the team purposely losing? Were they not giving their all because they were waiting to get Rob Thompson out of here? I mean, it's really, I don't know why you would even go down that road, honestly. Even if it was true, even if any of those scenarios are true, why even bring it up? How am I feeling about Garcia at this point in the season? I mean, he's picking up moonshot home run tonight. He's actually putting the ball in play. Solid defensive, man. I mean, definitely somebody that I think that come October, when you're going to need that arm out there or that glove out there, he could be a game changer in the playoffs, gunning somebody down, coming from third to home, or trying to tag from second to third or first to second. Well, they wouldn't be tagging first to second in right field, but from second to third or third to home. I mean, I think he's going to be a difference maker, and I think that glove and that arm will come into play. I think the hitting is slowly but surely rounding into form. Is it going to make me forget about the power bat situation? Is he that protection in the middle of the lineup? I'm not there yet. It's taken a while. Is it a better option than Nick Castellanos at this point? I think so. I think he brings more than Nick Castellanos does or did. I don't know. I mean, I'm not in love, but I don't hate him. Does that make any sense? Yeah. Top reverse Casty was 2 dudes low on 10-year impatience. Yeah, and listen, and I know as time progresses and we get further and further away from Rob Thompson in this organization as manager of the Phillies, and more stuff's going to pop out, especially in this day and age. Somebody's going to talk about something. I'm surprised Castellanos hasn't popped off about him yet, but as more and more time does pass, we're going to start hearing some more things about what the atmosphere was like inside that clubhouse. We're going to start hearing about, and I don't know if players are going to throw themselves under the bus saying that we took advantage of Rob Thompson and we shouldn't have, or I don't know if that's going to come out, but I find the comments of Bryce Harper extremely interesting, but yet confusing all at the same time about we were waiting to see what the organization was going to do. And I really don't understand why you would say something like that. And listen, you guys can attest to this. I'm not lying. I was not a Rob Thompson guy. I mean, I didn't hate him, but I wanted him out of here after 23. I thought that what happened in 22 deserved an opportunity to come back in 23, even though I was pissed off like you would not believe after Game 6 and Zach Wheeler and all that. And how do you score 13 runs or hit 9 home runs in one game and then come out and get no hit the next in the World Series? How do you get no hit in the World Series? That's just, I don't understand that. But maybe that's modern baseball for me. But I was okay with it. I was okay with bringing him back in 23. I was. But then after what happened against the Diamondbacks, when, the Kimbrel thing, going back-to-back with Craig Kimbrel in games, I think it was 3 and 4, and it just not working. When it never worked at all during the season when you did it, but yet you're going to try it in the playoffs like it might work because that's what analytics was telling him to do. And then no adjustments at all after Game 6. When you saw that the team was hacking away and you saw what the Diamondbacks were doing to your batters all game long, you made absolutely no adjustments heading into Game 7. There was nothing done with the lineup. There was no tweaks made. There actually doesn't seem there was any conversation at all about the whole thing. And then they go out and they lose in Game 7. I wanted him out of here at the end of that season. Because honestly, I really thought at that point, this guy cannot win in the big moment. This guy cannot manage, not win, but because, I get it, the players win, but this guy can't manage at the big moment. And I just don't want to waste any more time. And then in 24, when they went in and then he completely flipped the bullpen around in the playoffs and, guys, Hoffman's coming out in the 6th inning and like, what's he doing? Yeah, and then, after that, I was out at the end of 23. So I don't know if I could ever play for a Rob Thompson kind of manager, because I'm from a different era. But then again, I wouldn't be playing for Rob Thompson at my age. I'd be working for him. But I don't know if I could work for him. I think he is saying the team needed a shitter get off the pot as they created their own awkward situation. But in what context, Steve? Because you can listen to his comments, and as I said, he didn't say it once, he didn't say it twice, he said it 3 times, spread out over the course of this past week, when asked about teams, moving forward, how they're doing, and why they're playing better under Don Mattingly. And he's basically said the same thing differently 3 separate times. And based on what you're saying, what context are you meaning that? Were the players pissed off that Rob Thompson was brought back in 2026? When they found out that Rob Thompson was going to come back, were they all like, you know what? Screw this. We're going to revolt until the organization gets rid of this guy? Or was it, when things began to go south, they're like, listen, this guy's an idiot. We're not doing anything. We got to get him out of here. He needs to go. Again, whatever was happening, why did you have to say it? Just let it go. Leave that in between. Leave that inside the goddamn locker room. But all right, listen, let's stop here because now I'm starting to fade away. And I want to talk about our day in Philadelphia sports history. So let's get the show going as we do every night. Let's strap in, strap on, strap up, keep your head, hands, and feet inside the car at all times. And here we go. Your day in Philadelphia sports history. The Riverton Rifle. Anybody know who that is? I'm going to give you 5 seconds to put his name into the chat. Riverton Rifle. For those of you out there, Steve may know who that is. I don't know if anybody else will. Riverton Rifle. 5, 4, 3. Lock your answers in now. 3, 2, 1. All right. Do I have any takers on who the Riverton Rifle was? Steve, you don't know? Oh my God. Uh-oh. Reggie Leach scored 5 goals in Game 5 of the semifinal win over the Boston Bruins in 6-3. By the way, this is 1976. His postseason heroics in 76 had the Flyers playing in their third straight Stanley Cup Finals. Of course, this was not the one where they would three-peat. Leach earned the Conn Smythe Award as the playoffs MVP in a losing Flyers effort after setting the record for most goals in a single playoffs at 19. This record was tied by Yari Curry in 85, but still stands today. So Reggie Leach, a forgotten member of those glory days of the Flyers, was a sniper, man. Boy, I think he might have been about 15 years ahead of his time in that era of hockey that he played in. Earns the Conn Smythe Award for the playoff MVP, even though the Flyers ended up losing in the finals that year to who? Come on, lock them in. Lock your answers in. Who did the Flyers lose as they were bidding for Stanley Cup number 3? Let's go. I want to hear it. Steve, you have a chance to redeem yourself. Who did the Flyers lose to when they were coming back to win their third straight Stanley Cup? As they were trying to three-peat. I'll give you guys 5 seconds to lock in your answers. I'll give you a hint. It was a original 6. It was NHL royalty. It was, the old guard of the hockey league. And 3, 2, 1. Yes, Steve got it. Correct. It is the Montreal Canadiens. And it was funny because the Canadiens were viewed by then. You got to understand. And I was not around. Well, actually, I was around, but I was not conscious enough to understand what was happening. I was 3. But, the NHL despised what the Flyers became. They despised the way they played hockey. They despised that they turned hockey into a goonery sport. Even though, to be honest with you, hockey was goonery before the Flyers made it cool. And they viewed the Montreal Canadiens as an opportunity to put down the evil empire, so to speak, and restore order within the NHL in 1976. And they did. I didn't watch any of the games. I don't know if the fix was in, but It was definitely the fix was in, but yeah, Reggie Leach on this night won the Conn Smythe Trophy. Or actually, on this night, scored those goals in the semifinals. So that's your day in Philadelphia sports history, and that was brought to you by the fine folks here at the It's a Wrap Sports Network that are the creators and purveyors of the greatest Flyer post-game show this side of the Mississippi, the Clear the Ice program, carrying you as we have for the past 4 years. 4 years we've been doing this show. And, of course, this is our first year dwelling into the playoffs. So I had you in game 1 and game 2. Mike Lara will come back at we with you back-to-back for 3 and 4. And then hopefully, God permitting, we'll be able to turn game 5 on at some point next week. It'll be me for game 5, by the way, if you're wondering. But there's the Clear the Ice schedule as it sits right now. So before I get back into the comments, I do want to do the of the night segment because I am so far behind on this thing that it's beginning to wake me up at night. So here we go with of the night. Yes, the of the night segment. This is the time of the show where we take a look at either a Flyers prospect, a NHL draft prospect, an MLB draft prospect, a Phillies draft Phillies prospect. We spotlight a player from the Flyers, Sixers, or Flyers, Eagles, or the. Actually, I only do Flyers and Phillies for that. And we have some fun talking about it. Tonight we're going to go 3 for 3. We're going to talk MLB draft. We're going to talk NHL draft, and we're also going to talk Phillies prospects because we're done with the Flyers prospects till next year. But we're going to go 3 for 3 tonight as I got to get caught up, man. I'm way behind on this. Let's start with the Phillies prospect of the night. And Steve mentioned him earlier, and I'm going to bring him up here now. It is Gabriel Rakonis Jr. That is him from his Iron Pig days, his Reading Fighting Phillies days. A 6'3" left-handed hitter, Rakonis has the frame, strength, and capacity to be a good hitter with plenty of power. But while he did hit 11 homers in his shortened season with Reading last year, which it would have been 2 years ago, by the way, this slide needs to be updated. He still has a hit-first mentality at the plate. His metrics are solid with good exit velocities and walk rates, and he rarely chases, giving him a chance to hit at the next level. The key will be for him to find ways to tap into his natural strength without sacrificing any of that hit tool. Now, this, as I said, is somewhat of an older breakdown of him. It's from like 2 years ago. He really burst onto the scene last season, had an amazing year in Lehigh Valley. Offensive player, basically, of the year for the Iron Pigs last year. He refined that power, and he also refined that contact hitting that they were talking about here, and was really on a trajectory, in my opinion, to be a strong candidate to make the team, to make the Phillies roster out of camp. Dave Dombrowski spoke about him specifically at the end of season press conference, that he was going to be one of the young players the Phillies were going to be taking a look at. Well, an injury sidelined him early on in spring training, and has continuously has sidelined him since. So he's sort of obviously fallen back down into the pit, and hopefully that he can find his stroke again once he gets back on the field, because Rakonis at 6'3" does have that, and please bear with me when I say it, he does have that Nick Castellanos walk about him. I mean, he is very, very similar to the Nick Castellanos build. He's a little bit more stockier than a Jason Worth, but all those types of hitters that we all remember from, some of the Phillies glory days, he fits that role so good. And in my opinion, he's got a 5-hole hitter written all over him at the MLB level. It's just a matter of getting him back on track. And he's one of my favorite Phillies that I've been keeping an eye on for a few years. And I really do hope that he gets an opportunity to sort of right the ship and get going again in a positive way for the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs. And then, of course, for the Phillies. When I think about what happened to Lehigh this year, man, we had Aiden Miller went down with the back thing early in spring training. You had Gabe GRJ go down midway through spring training. And then a guy who went under the radar, who had a great year in Double-A last year, was Anthony Keaton, the undrafted free agent out of Iowa. this kid burst up the ladder and like went up like 2.5 levels of minor leagues in like 2 years, and was in prime to have a good year. He ends up breaking his foot at the end of spring training. So, I remember talking about this stuff when it happened. And now that we're in the situation that we're in with the Phillies, I think we can give a little bit more credence to how bad the injury bug hit some of our prospects in spring training. Gabriel Roconis got hurt. Aiden Miller got hurt. And Keaton got hurt. Now, Keaton was a little bit more of an outside, let's say it like it is, like an Otto Kemp type of guy, come out of nowhere type player. But he was raking, man. He was raking. And outfielder by trade, but they were actually converting him to a first baseman when he got hurt. He took a ball off the foot, broke his foot, like on March 24th. So just a lot of bad luck. And again, I don't think we're giving much onus and credence to some of the injuries of our prospects. So there's a Phillies prospect of the night. It is Gabriel Roconis Jr. Let's transition now to our MLB draft prospect of the night, and that would be Mr. Gio Rojas, the left-hand pitcher from Stoneman Douglas, Florida. That's a high school, by the way. He is 18. He bats right. He was born in 2007. Jesus Christ, man. The hell's he still doing in high school? Throws left, 6'4", 190 pounds. He's committed to the University of Miami. Rojas has positioned himself as one of the top lefties and best arms overall available in this class, high school or college. Wow. He can crank his fastball up to 98 with outstanding riding life, commanding it on both sides of the plate. It's a better pitch to his arm side, but he can get into the glove side when he needs to, missing bats when it's up in the zone. He complements it with a very nasty 3/4 to low 80 sweeping slider that is a true out pitch. He doesn't use his changeup much, but there's plenty of feel for it to imagine being a third effective offering. Top 5 potential top 10 reality players selected. Don't know how much his draft stock affects his commitment to the University of Miami. Obviously, if he goes lower in the first round, he'll probably go to Miami and play at least 1 year there. But he's not going to be anywhere near the Phillies when they draft at 36 overall. That's not going to happen. So he'll be long gone before the Phillies select, but he is definitely a guy, 6'4", 190. You figure they put about 20 more pounds on him. And if he can learn to throw that change up, and he's got a 3 nasty pitch arsenal, which they'll teach him how to throw a change up at the pro level. But this guy has, he's throwing 98 at 18. He's throwing consistently at 98 miles an hour with riding life. That means with a tail, with a bite, with some dip, with some movement. Boy, oh boy. I mean, if he doesn't make it as a starter, you definitely can see a reliever in his future. But especially at that frame, at 6'4", 190. But this kid projects out to be, again, as I said, top 5 is sort of like, maybe a stretch. I don't know if he'll be the first pitcher off the board. But we'll have to wait and see, but definitely a top 10. And that, I think, will go a long way in determining whether or not he actually attends the University of Miami next year or does, in fact, go to Miami. So there you have it. And again, he'll be long gone by the time the Phillies select at 36. So there you have your MLB draft prospect of the night. Let's finish it up with the NHL. And, of course, the newly minted first-round pick belongs to the Toronto Maple Leafs this year. We talked about my first my first John LeClair-like trade mock yesterday, where I have a couple players in the draft pick heading to Toronto for some players. Let's talk tonight about Tinian Lawrence, the center from Boston University, a 6 foot, 185-pound center. Lawrence's intelligence, compete and work ethic hasn't missed a beat since transitioning to college from junior hockey. He displays that winning mindset every time he steps on the ice. He's not flashy, but it's the little things he does that stand out. He has great attention to detail. It's always in the right place at the right time, and positionally displays strong hockey sense and the ability to step up and anticipate plays. So sum it up in a layman's terms, he is a third-line centerman and maybe a penalty kill second unit kind of guy. But he's one of those types of players you need on a team. He's probably never going to score 25 goals a year for you, but what he's going to do is he's going to make those little things happen where you need them to happen. And that's at that transitional third line level to try to turn the lines back over, or, at least turn it down to the fourth line. So at 6 foot, 185, a little bit undersized for me. Honestly, he projects out in the top 20 area. He could be a potential target of the Flyers. He may be available at that level when the Flyers pick somewhere down there at the bottom of the first round, but not day one. By no means is he a day one guy, but somebody you can develop within your system to be a strong contributor very soon, or within 2 or 3 or 4 years of him being drafted. So, and actually a player that I think would suit the Flyers. I think our attempt to try to get the day one number one centerman of the draft, that ship has sailed. I don't think we're ever going to get back to that point of the draft lottery. So, I mean, it might now be just at this point, just trying to find those complement players lower in the draft. And he might be on the radar of the Flyers. So keep an eye on Tynan Lawrence out of the University or Boston University. And that will do it. Good. Got through it. All 3 of my of the night segments. And, I feel better about myself, but I'm going to feel even better once I do this segment and get this done, and then we can get back to the conversation. Let's roll the tape. That's right. MattyB's card review is in the house. I told you we're resolving unsettled issues right now. And this is the time of the show where I talk about one of my very many sports cards in my sports card collection, mainly baseball. We just have some fun, talk about the card, talk about some financial value of the card, and some, nostalgic value if it's applicable here. We've gotten way away from doing this segment. We used to do it every single night. We got to get back to it. And we're back here tonight to do it. So without further ado, let's bring it up. It is not the sexiest card ever. Matter of fact, it's a card that typically when you open these cards up and you find a card like this, you don't give it much of an afterthought. It's never considered a card that may come back and be of any value at any time in life of sports cards, regardless of what it is. I honestly hate these cards and when I find them in packs, because I think it's a waste of a card. But tonight, we're going to talk about one that may not be quite a waste, and here it is. It's the 2020 Los Angeles Angel team card. Yes, the team card. You guys know about these team cards that show up in packs and sets. It's where they take a couple players from a team and they get them in a bunch in an action shot, take a picture of them, and then slap it onto a card and say, this is the Angels team card or the Phillies team card or whatever team card of that year. And the reason, of course, that this card is so intriguing, do I have to explain why the Angels team card from 2020 is so intriguing? Do you see the tall, lanky Asian guy standing right there in the middle? Well, that's the reason why it's so intriguing, because it's a team card featuring Shohei Ohtani from back in the day. Now, normally a team card would be worth all about $1, maybe 50 cents. This card, as a raw card, ungraded, comes in, and this is a base card. It's not a foil. It's not a refractor. It's nothing. It's just a regular base card. I believe out of Series 1? Did I pull this out of? Yeah, Series 1. Series 1, card number 19. It's a $4 value. A $4 value for a team card of the Los Angeles Angels in 2020. But of course, it features Shohei Ohtani. So I'm previewing and talking about this card to put all you would-be card collectors on notice. Never, ever, ever underestimate a value of any card that you come across. Every card has a place in a collection, whether it be in a place of reverence, to be put away and saved properly because you know it's going to be a no-brain hit, or in the case of the 2020 Angels team card, you just never know. So you never take for granted any card. And I did not take this one for granted. And of course, knowing baseball the way I do, I had a feeling that Shohei Ohtani was going to be what he was. Well, maybe not quite this way, but so I put this card in a place of reverence, and now here I am 6 years later, and this card is worth $4. It's almost the price of a pack. Not bad. Not bad for my initial investment of this card. So there you have it. The 2020 LA Angels, or Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, California Angels, however you want to call them, their 2020 Series 1 base team card number 19, featuring, of course, Mr. Shohei Ohtani. Look how young he looks, man. Look how young he looks. And there you go, man. I did it. I did everything of the night. I did the card segment. I feel so good about myself. I feel redeemed. I feel like I can have purpose in life again. And we can get back to the conversation. So, but yeah, it was fun. It's always fun to do. That's always fun to do. We've been loading the bases a lot lately. Yes, we have. And we've actually been getting runners in scoring position, Star Wars. As of tonight, sitting here right now, the Phillies are batting over 300 with runners in scoring position under Don Mattingly. Mark this day in history. I should write it down in the book there and say, then next year we'll talk about it and say, you know what? The Phillies were batting at over 300 with runners in scoring position. Not quite necessarily, but again, like I said yesterday, the offense is not going to morph into something otherworldly. No, it's just a matter of getting the offense back to where they were, because they were worse than they were. And then to me, they're not good enough anyway, but yet they were better than what they were. And now they're rounding back into that form, which I don't know if that's World Series winning, but it's definitely World Series or playoff competing. But I don't, take that for what it is. When did Brian Racone learn to hit for power? Anyway, somebody started giving him a sandwich. I don't know, man. He's put on weight. I don't know if you've seen a picture of him 2 years ago versus now. He's filled out. He's got his playing weight up. I don't know what's, maybe they got him in the gym. Maybe they're pushing hoagies down his throat. I don't know what they're doing to him, but he is definitely, I wouldn't use the word bulk, but he's filled out. He's lost that baby fat, I guess. The Phillies 2026 record runners scoring position, 35 runs in 274 at bats, showing a below average ability to produce runs in clutch situations despite some success in drawing walks. Yeah, well, I don't know where you're pulling those records. I'll give you the actual numbers. You ready, Star Wars? Matter of fact, I'll break it way down for you. So I have it right here. So RISP, runners in scoring position, under Rob Thompson. Under Rob Thompson for 28 games, the Phillies were 79. I'm sorry, they were 43 for 194 with runners in scoring position under Rob Thompson for a 221 batting average. Under Don Mattingly, they are 23 for 76 with a 302 batting average. Currently combined with both Mattingly and Thompson, they are 66 for 270, and they're batting 244. I'll take that. I will take that any day of the week compared to where we've been before. Matter of fact, that's about their average. They're about a 240-ish RISP team. Now, another stat to keep in mind, their opponents' RISP. Under Rob Thompson, opponents were 79 for 290. They were batting 272 against the Phillies under Rob Thompson for the first 28 games of the year. Under Don Mattingly, they're 14 for 70, and they're batting 200. So they've lowered the Phillies have lowered their opponents' risk by over 70 points. For the season, opponents are batting 93 for 360. They're still batting 258. But that's a remarkable turnaround from where Thompson was to where we are here 8 games or 9 games into Rob Thompson. Oh, man. Keaton Anthony can rake. Yes, he can. Now he's got a broken foot. And that was a major shame. Yep. It was bad for sure. Are we talking about something else? Something else? Joe Hale's in the house tonight. Bryce Harper was waving to Dave. Was he really? I saw him waving. I was like, who's he waving to? He's waving to Dave Dombrowski? Is that relationship falling off a cliff? Are they done? because Bryce is not holding back, man. One of my lead stories tonight was the conversation or what is he talking about? Why is Bryce Harper not only mentioning it, but mentioning it multiple times that the team's struggles under Rob Thompson were in part, and I'm paraphrasing, of course, in part to they were waiting for what the franchise was going to do with Rob. What does that mean? Steve said it was a remark directed at Dave Dombrowski, right? But what was the context of the remark? And I floated out a few different possibilities. Was it because they're waiting to see that they weren't on board with Rob Thompson coming back and they were like, well, we'll do what we got to do? Were they waiting to see what the organization was going to do once they got off to a slow, bad start and they sort of kind of laid down for him? I mean, what in the hell is he talking about is what I want to know, Joe. And that's what everybody wants to know, or I shouldn't say everybody, but that's what I want to know. Ricky says, hey, Ricky, and I hope he's feeling better. Pass that along, please. And Joe says, hey to everybody. It's good, Joe. I appreciate it. So that's the basis of the conversation. But as far as the Phillies go, through 9 games of Don Mattingly, what are they back in second place? 3 games under 500, another series win. That is the 5th series win of the season. Going for series sweep number 2 tomorrow. What a difference a week makes. What a friggin' difference a week makes. And as, again, also pointed out by Dave Dombrowski on the day they fired Rob Thompson, was partly the decision was made at that time because of, in part, to the schedule. 3 with, who was it? Was it the Marlins they kicked it off with? 3 with Miami. Oh, wait, no, 3 with the Giants, Miami, Vegas, whoever they are, and Colorado. Now, after we're done with the Rockies, they have an off day Monday, and then we got Boston and Cincinnati and Pittsburgh. We got Boston, Cincinnati, and Pittsburgh. That's probably going to be a truer gauge onto where the Phillies are at this point than these games right here. These are the get right games, which there's nothing wrong with those. You need those games in your season in order to sort of build up the wins. But we're going to see against a struggling Boston team that's somewhat in the same situation the Phillies are in. We're going to see them against a team in the Reds, and then we're also going to see them against an upstart in the Pirates. I'm very interested to see that Pirates series. I don't think it's going to be as a sleepwalk as everybody else. And I don't know if Skeens grades out to be facing the Phillies when they play, but I definitely want to see how they do over those next 9 games. And it'll give me more of an indication of where we're at with this team. But up to this point, the one thing that I was so concerned about and so frustrated about and so demoralized about why the Phillies were struggling was because of their starting pitching had just gone away, and they exposed that offense. But yeah, everything seems to be trending back in the right direction. Everyone's feeling good about the Phillies. But what in the hell was Bryce Harper saying? And what's he trying to say? And also, the other question about the Phillies, and I still haven't only heard Steve's remark about it, the unresolved issues with the Phillies currently. Now, there's more than just the ones that I talked about, but these are the ones that are sort of the headlines, right? Right-handed power bat. Is Garcia the answer? And he started to hit, had a home run tonight. Matter of fact, tonight was the Phillies' 40th home run of the season. They've hit 40 home runs in 37 games. That's one part of the offense that has not struggled. But is Garcia the answer in the right-handed power bat? I don't know if he's the answer that everybody thinks they're looking for. I don't know if, and what I mean by that is he's a power bat, he's right-handed, but he's not a cleanup guy. And I don't know if that's really where he fits in. So is Garcia the right-handed power bat option, or are the Phillies, or should the Phillies be on the make for another right-handed power bat option, perhaps in the outfield, perhaps currently playing in California, with some connections to the Delaware Valley by the name of Mike Trout? I know it's a name, and I never went in on the Trout thing in all the years this has been going on about talking about Mike Trout. And as I said, I was somewhat intrigued a few years back. when Trout was a pending free agent, and then the Angels scooped in and gave him that big contract. And that point on, I let Trout go. I didn't even give it a second thought. But now that Trout says he's seemingly healthy for now, and the Angels, you know what? I don't know what the Angels are waiting on. They if I was the ownership group out there, I was the GM in California, man, I'd be on the phone daily with teams. What do you want from them? What are you going to offer? Because you don't know how long Trout's going to stay healthy, and your rebuilding future is not changing. You're going to have to rebuild, and you need to get whatever you can for Mike Trout. So you probably need to sell high right now if I was the Angels. I don't know if Trout makes to the trade deadline, honestly. He might get moved prior to that. I'm not saying to the Phillies, but someone's going to pick him up prior to the trade deadline. You mark my words. But is Trout the answer as the right-handed power bat, or is Garcia the answer? Are you guys more, are you okay with that? And then the other part of this conundrum is Alec Bohm. I'm done with it, man. I've been done with Alec Bohm. I've been done with Alec Bohm since the end of the first half of 2024. Since his all-star first half of 2024, I've been done with Alec Bohm. And here we are coming up on 2 years of that, and I'm still talking about Alec Bohm. He's batting in the 150s. Just seems lost out there. I'm done with his maturity. I'm done with his lanky ass playing third base. I'm done with it all. What do you do at third base? What do you do at third base? And Joe Hale brings up a point that is the fly in the ointment, the monkey in the wrench, the pain in the ass, is the fact that Aiden Miller is not playing yet. Aiden Miller hasn't picked up a baseball bat or a ball in months. And his 2026 season is pretty much, I think it's safe to say, it's over as far as the Phillies are concerned. So you don't have the Aiden Miller option. Then you also have the problem that Bohm is a free agent, and there's nobody behind him in the system right now that you could plug in next year, because you're not plugging If Aiden Miller loses 2026, he's not going to be a Philly in 2027. Mark my words. So what are you doing with Alec Bohm? Now the first question you would probably say is, why don't we look down to the minors? That's where, all of our problems are caused and solved, right down there. There's nothing prospect-wise that's ready to take over third base, and Elephant just jumps in with the name. That's interesting. Otto Kemp can do better than 180 with full-time at-bats. Otto Kemp, I think, was it yesterday, Sunday? Hit 2 homers and drove in 7 runs against the Bisons in Buffalo for the Pigs. Hit 2 homers and drove in 7 runs in one game. Interesting name, Otto Kemp. There's another name floating around down there too. Not a prospect per se, a former prospect, a former first-round draft pick for the Washington Nationals that has bounced around Major League Baseball. Really a poster child of unfulfilled potential. Was supposed to be the greatest thing since sliced. He did not work out that way, but he has logged in 132 games at the Major League level, and that was the player we obtained from the Cleveland Guardians back in the end of spring training for some cash, the cash consideration trade. Carter Kieboom, whatever you want to say it. He was actually my Lehigh Valley Iron Pig Player of the Week last week. What Carter can provide you is he's a right-handed bat too, not a power bat. 7th, 8th, 9th guy in the lineup. No question about that. But he can provide you some stability at third base. He can provide you some defensive stability, and he can provide you some stability. And as Elephant points out, Otto Kemp can do. First of all, you're given if you're trying to compare 180 to Bohm. Bohm's batting 156. So I think Kemp can bat more than 156 with full-time at-bats. And I also believe Kieboom could do it too. So what are you doing about third base? And Don Mattingly was asked the question the other day, and he said, well, for now he's playing, but we'll, obviously keep an eye on it. So that tells me that the clock is ticking. And tonight, I'm sorry, you're talking about a player that's, was a prospect in your system. I think he's a former first-round pick. Wasn't Bohm out of was it Nebraska? He got taken? Came out of Nebraska? think he was a first rounder, first or third. For some reason I'm seeing first round or third round, but I think it was first. You know, when you're a former first round pick of an organization, and he was a highly touted prospect at one time, back when there wasn't many highly touted prospects. You're getting lifted late in games for a defensive replacement or whatever they're calling it. And thank God they did it, because Sosa had the big hit tonight. But is it more a question of when than if at this point? And obviously, with a healthy Aiden Miller, maybe a month into his AAA career, we're talking a whole different situation here. I imagine we'd be banging on the table, or I would. Everybody else would be, to get Miller up here. But is that the reason why Bohm is still hanging on, because there's just not a viable option below him? And is he a victim of that right now, or is he a benefactor of that? And at the cost of the Phillies? But or do you go outside the organization? I mean, I looked around last night on the would-be 2027 free agent class of third baseman. It ain't good. I think Eugenio Suarez is on there. Bo Bichette, of course, if he opts out, will be on there. Anthony Rendon, who I don't even know is still playing baseball, is on there. But that's about it. I mean, that's really the cream of the crop right there of the 2027 free agent draft class, or free agent class of third baseman. So you're not getting Suarez from the Reds in May. You're not getting Bichette from the Mets in May. You're not going to get those two guys. You might be able to get Rendon. Maybe they could throw Rendon in the Trout trade. You know, we'll bring both of them over here. But I don't know if you can viably look outside the organization for a possibility at third base. Would you try for Tatis? Joe Hale always coming off the top ropes with these weird trades. Absolutely, I would love Fernando Tatis here, but he's not coming here. It's just no way, Joe. Joe, it doesn't work. I wish it worked. I wish it worked like that, man. I wish I could sit down, or more importantly, Dave Dombrowski sit down and say, you know what? I want Kyle Tucker. You know? Or I want Tatis. I'm calling San Diego and I'm telling them, trade me him for a bag of buckets, or a bucket of balls. Bag of buckets. Bucket of balls and Garrett Stubbs. Make it happen. They're not backing off. Tatis is the face of the franchise, man. They're not trading him. But we got to set our sights on more realistic goals. And honestly, there's nothing out there that I could see a team parting ways with a player, because I don't want I'm okay with a rental. That's fine. But I don't want a run-of-the-mill guy. I need someone that can, infuse the position, or at least play better. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to pull somebody off a team in May. Nobody has really hit the skids yet. Yes, other than the Mets, but the Mets ain't trading Bo Bichette. They'll take their chances with him. But do you look inward? Otto Kemp is an interesting name. Otto Kemp is an interesting name. And we don't really know what Otto Kemp could have been. I knew it was a wrong decision to bring him up here to be a bench guy. I knew it was wrong. We talked about it on this show. It was the wrong thing to do. If they would have moved on from Bohm in the offseason, like everybody wanted it done, but of course Dombrowski telegraphed his move and nobody was going to take Bohm. If they could have moved off of Bohm and then maybe turn the position over to Bohm, or not Bohm, but to Kemp, with the prospect of Aiden Miller in the wings, even though Miller is now out of the question or out of the situation, I still would have been better off. I would have felt better about the Phillies third base situation, because I know Otto Kemp would have been given every day at bats. And I'm not saying he's going to bat 400. I'm not even going to say he's going to bat 240, but he will bat in the twos somewhere, better than 155. And he's probably better defensive option too. So is it as simple as bringing Otto Kemp back? And what do you do with Bohm? He does have options. Bohm has all of it. Matter of fact, he got called up and never went back down. He's got 4 options left. Do you send him to AAA? Or do you just outright DFA him? Because again, he's not in the long-term plans of this team. Nobody's trading for Alec Bohm. What do you do with Alec Bohm? And does it constitute a massive, major shakeup with the team if you go ahead and just cut ties with Alec Bohm? But day after day, game after game, he slides further down in his. And he was the number 4 hitter coming out of spring training. That's how pissed off that makes me feel. He was the number 4 hitter. He was the penciled-in cleanup guy coming out of spring training. And now, a month later, batting 151, hanging on to a roster spot by the skin of his teeth. And everybody wants to say, oh, it's a good situation with his parents. I mean, dude, listen. I don't know what planet you guys grew up on, but if you're struggling with an outside situation, a personal problem in life, hey, you got to motor through that for your job. You got to motor through that with your job. So we're talking about a guy that was penciled in as your cleanup hitter coming out of spring training, hanging on by a string. What do you do? Don Mattingly says it's a wait and see type thing, but I'm tired of waiting and seeing. I think a lot of us have had our minds made up on Bohm since the second half of 2024. But what do you do? Otto Kemp, Carter Kieboom. You look outside the organization, Anthony Rendon, Fernando Tatis, as Joe says, he wants Tatis Jr. That'd be great. I'd take him. Make that happen. What do you do? Or do we just endure? Again, Sosa had a big hit tonight, but we've seen how this movie plays out. Sosa's not an everyday guy. He's just not. And it's just the reality of it. Sosa's good in the role that we incorporate him in. A utility guy, a guy that can spell pretty much anybody on the diamond. I think he can catch too. And keep using him in that role. It's frustrating, man. It's frustrating. Fourth overall. He wasn't 4th overall. I would have remembered that. The only time I remember the Phillies taking in the top 10 was the Moniak draft. I don't remember. Was Bohm 4th? Let me look that up. Now you got me wondering. Was Alec Bohm drafted at? Alec Bohm draft year. Let's see if Elephant's right. I'd be very impressed if he was drafted that high. Alec Bohm, there it is. Alec Bohm, yeah, he's from Nebraska. Oh yeah, you're right, man. He was the 3rd overall pick. God damn. Alec Bohm, 3rd overall pick in 2012. No, 2018. Sorry, 2018. 3rd overall pick in 2018. So obviously there's something there, and you're not going to part ways with him but I think it's definitely coming to that point. Kemp has more pop than Bohm too. Yeah, he does. Or he used to, or he does at AAA. We haven't really seen what he can do at the MLB level. Is there buyer's remorse though on turning it over to Otto Kemp? Because here's the thing. It's not just a matter, in my opinion, about bringing another third baseman here. You got to do something with Bohm. You can't just leave him on the bench, right? Can you do that? Can you leave Bohm on the bench? Because that would mean you have to get rid of Garrett Stubbs. We can't have that. You know that, right? You do know that we just can't stash Bohm on the bench. Someone's got to go. Either he's got to go, or who else could they cut? Let me see. If Stubbs is off the table, because he's got those pictures, who do you cut? I guess you could send Reyes back down. I guess you could do that. But that takes an outfield option away from you, even though I don't think Reyes belongs up here. But what do you do with Alec Bohm, even if you bring somebody up? So like a phantom injury like Marsh last year, I guess you could do that, because you could definitely move him down to the minor leagues for that. without any fuss or muss. Now, I'm not really certain because he's been up here with the Phillies since what, 2020 was his rookie year? 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. So this is his 7th year. I don't even know if I think you lose your options after a certain amount of time of MLB service. I don't think he can be sent down without the consent. Yeah, okay, so maybe that's what it is. But they could DFA him, which he would go through waivers, and then if he clears waivers, he either takes the assignment or he becomes a free agent, which I don't care. Because obviously we can't trade him. They've been trying for 2 years. By the way, Bad Penny, welcome to the show. Please like, share, and subscribe. Tell all your friends about the It's a Wrap Sports Network. Bowman's been a letdown from day one. He was media. I don't know why the hell I did not remember he was a top 3 pick. I do not remember how did I miss that? How did I forget he was the 3rd overall pick in 2018? I don't even want to know who else was drafted in 2018 below Bohm. I don't even want to put myself through that. But wow. Can't risk the Stubbs magic. Yeah, again, cannot risk the Stubbs magic. You're I agree. Or you can't risk him turning those photos over to TMZ, wherever he got them for, wherever he's got on this team. And please, I am not intonating, or I'm not trying to put a seed in anyone's mind about Garrett Stubbs being a third baseman. Please, don't anybody bring that up. Joe Hale, I'm looking at you. Don't bring that up. All right, that's not an option. But if you're going to make a move, and I think the time is coming, and I don't know how much longer you can put it off. He's playing every day, and he's stinking every day. And he was the number 4 hitter penciled in our lineup coming out of spring training. Remember how pissed off I was? I think I went on the air. It was the final spring training game of the year against Tampa. And I had a show that night. And when somebody had asked Rob Thompson about the lineup, and he said, this is pretty much what we're going to go with to start the season. And the lineup consisted of, I believe it was Turner leading off, Schwarber second, Harper third, Bohm 4, Stott 5. Was it JT 6 or was it Garcia 6, JT 7? No, I'm sorry. It was Marsh 6, Garcia 7, JT 8, and Crawford 9. I think that's what it was. And I remember when he said that, I damn near had a heart attack. That he was actually saying that was going to be what they were going to break camp with. Out of all that posturing and talking and saying, yeah, I'm open to change and let's toy with the lineup. That was the best you came up with. And now Bohm is at a point a month later where I don't even know if his career is salvageable at this point as a Philly. Yeah, he has 0 value. Less than 0. Thanks, brother. Watch it all the time. I just never comment. Well, I'm glad you watch, and I'm glad you stick around. And please interact more, man. I need to interject new blood into this show, man. It's tired of talking to these same people over and over again. I'm just kidding. I love you guys. We always get top picks and terrible drafts. Yes, we do. Do you think Pat Burrell was a terrible pick? In retrospect, wasn't he number 1 overall? Now, Moniak, who's leading the NL in home runs right now, chew on that for a second. I always, you know what? I had faith in Moniak. The only issue I had with Mickey Moniak was the friggin' injuries. It just seemed every time he did pull it together and he did start something, he'd break a finger or he'd break a toe or he'd fracture his foot. Something would always set him back. Not majorly, but just long enough to where whatever mojo he'd gotten just disappeared. But I still had faith in Moniak. You know, I really did. Never to pan out as a number 1 overall, but as to pan out as a depth piece, potential platoon guy. You know, I'm happy for Mickey Moniak. Hey, he latched on with Colorado. Did we trade him? Was he traded? Yeah, he was traded to the Angels, right? And then I think the Angels dropped him. Somebody picked him up, and then they dropped him, and he ended up in Colorado. And he's leading the NL in home runs right now. But good for Mickey Moniak, because he might be a hot name come the trade deadline. I mean, he's low-hanging fruit for the Colorado Rockies. He could be a hot name. I'm happy for Mickey Moniak. I really am. Let's be real here. They're playing better against Met teams. The ship is full of holes still. And I'm not disputing there. And nor am I sitting here telling you that the recent wave of winning. So here's the thing. And I don't know how much you've listened to me or how much you understand where I come from in terms of this whole thing. It doesn't change my outcome of what I think is going to happen this year about this baseball team. I agree. They're offensively, all they're doing now is playing back up to the same level of what they were last year, which wasn't good enough, or the year before that, which wasn't good enough, and the year before that, which wasn't good enough. They're just getting back to that same frustrating level. But the fact that it was worse than that it was even worse than what it normally is, I hate to say it, a positive thing right now, that they're getting back to that meh level, that frustrating level. It's not incompetent per se anymore. It's back to being just frustrating. Still not a World Series winning offense. They've not changed any of that. And then at the end of all this, 5 months from now, when we're singing the same song we've sung over the last 4 years, this time, though, that we're putting Don Mattingly's name in front of it instead of Rob Thompson by saying they came up small in the playoffs, or they came up small in the wild card round, or the DS, or God forbid in the LCS, which I don't think they get there. But that's true. But what was really disheartening and demoralizing for me was, even with that in mind and knowing what the offense was, I still had faith and hope that Justin Crawford specifically could help usher in, not change it, but usher in a change in the DNA of the team. And I don't know if he probably still can. And Justin Crawford's here to stay. Yeah, he's bona fide. But I don't think offensively he's enough to change what this team is DNA wise. He's not. This team is still ripe with the same people and the same attitudes and the same way of doing business. So I get you there. But what was really frustrating and disheartening and demoralizing to me, and I think to a lot of people, was what had happened to the pitching rotation and to the bullpen and to the pitching staff in general. Fell off a cliff. And without pitching, and if anybody else wants to dispute me anymore, because people used to dispute this with me when I said that the pitching was keeping this team afloat. Well, you've seen what will happen to this team if the pitching goes away. 9-19 is what will happen to this team. But the pitching has sort of turned that corner, and they're getting back to the level of where they were. And that is the saving grace for this baseball team as we push through the rest of the season. That's the one thing that's going to keep them in a position come October to compete in the playoffs. I don't care about winning the division. It's about competing for the playoffs. So basically, we're back to square one. And it's almost like we're starting the season in May. You know what I mean? But I agree. And yes, Dave Dombrowski even said it. It was part of the whole process of moving on from Rob. Was we got 9 games against the Marlins, the Giants. Actually, it was 12 games. We got the Marlins, we got the Giants, the Giants, the Marlins, the A's, and the Rockies. Let's, if we're going to make some sort of move, we got to make it now, because this is the opportunity to get back to being somewhat respectable. JD Drew would have been a better number 1. Well, didn't he go number 2? Didn't the Phillies take him 2nd overall? Or was that the second time? When the Phillies drafted JD Drew, was it 1 overall? Was it 1 or was it 2? I was just reading something about JD Drew not too long ago. That's coming up, by the way. That day in Philadelphia sports history is coming up when the Eagles drafted JD Drew. And not the Eagles, Phillies. He never quite got around to being drafted by the Eagles. But, well, yeah, I mean, JD Drew would have been Of course, that's the best story in the world, man. I love that. I remember that happening, man. Gosh, that was so embarrassing. That the kid's taking either 1 or 2 overall. I don't remember who he was, 1 or 2. I think he might have been 1 or 2, or he was taken second the year after. In that area, whatever. And he said, I ain't playing for him. Yeah, I don't care, man. Scott Boras, you're the man. I ain't playing for the Phillies. I'll go back to college for another year. Yes, Angels of Philly. Yeah, I agreed. 900% sure we have a World Series bullpen. I'm telling you, don't give up on them. I do believe the bullpen is better than it was last year. There's one major issue in there, and that's Alvarado, right? But other than that, I like our bullpen. And I'm still holding on hope for Kerkering. I'm still holding out hope that he can be that lockdown guy in the 8th inning. Basically take over Alvarado's role. And hopefully, if it works out as we move through the season, we just phase Alvarado out. Keller moves into the 7th inning role. Then you got Banks, Meza, and the rest of them filling in the 6th inning, and then whoever's left. But I like their bullpen. I do. Might have been 2. Yeah, I don't remember which it was. I don't. It was 1 or 2. They are streaking and live and die by the long ball. It's been that way since 22. They have 0 timely hitting, one of the worst records with RISP year after year. So again, I don't know how much people in here can tell you how I am when it comes to RISP. RISP is something that I go to, that wakes me up at night, right? RISP. And I just went over some numbers earlier, and I'll go over them again. So, and these are actually encouraging numbers. So with RISP in mind, this is about RISP. And yes, the home run aspect of it all, 100%. 40 home runs so far through 37 games. So as the rest of the offense went bottoms up, the home run hitting still remained through all this, which again is it's not a good thing. It's not, but they were still hitting home runs. But as far as RISP goes, here, let's go this one last time. I did this for Star Wars earlier. I'll do it for you. So through the first 28 games of the season under Rob Thompson, the Phillies with runners in scoring position were 43 for 294. They were batting 221 with runners in scoring position. Under Don Mattingly over the past 9 games, they're 23 for 76, and they're batting 302. So they raised their RISP average up to 80 points in 9 games, right? For the season, they're batting 66 for 270 with a 244 batting average. That is kind of where they are. They're in that 240, like in the 240s, maybe touching 250, but not quite. 244, 248 in that vein right there. And that's not good enough, because I've always maintained that to be a viable World Series threat and to be a viable championship team at the MLB level, you got to be batting 250 or above. 250 at a minimum with RISP. And the Phillies just can't seem to get to that point. Opponent-wise, again, this is their opponents' RISP. With Rob Thompson, their opponents were 79 for 290 against the Phillies. That was a 272 batting average that the Phillies opponents were batting with runners in scoring position. Under Mattingly, the Phillies opponents are 93 for they're 14 for 70. So they're batting 200 with Don Mattingly as the manager. And for the season, teams are batting 258 against the Phillies. 100%. RISP is a part of my life that drives me crazy. So question of the night, and we're going to wrap up here, coming up on an hour and a half. So I think we made some good ground here tonight. No one gave me any suggestions, though. Still waiting on the suggestions. Is it powered right-handed bat, or is it third baseman that you want to target right now? Because those are the two main holes on this team. There's many more, but if you're going to boil it down to the 2 ones that we got to fix right now in order to be better, I think it's power. It's right-handed power bat, or it's a third baseman. Who do you go after right now? And how do you go after it? We talked about Mike Trout being back in the name in the rumor mill. With the Angels ownership, I don't know how they can deny a rebuild anymore. I don't know how you can look at this thing and say, we're going to be okay after years and years and years of just failing. Mike Trout has to be traded if you're the Angels. They got to make a move away from him. And now that he's healthy, and for who knows how long he'll be healthy for, don't you think it's time to go now and make a move to get him out of here? Third baseman. Alec Bohm is seemingly playing his final days as the Phillies third baseman. Do you go outside the organization and try to target somebody like, as I said, I looked at the upcoming 2027 draft class or free agent class. It ain't very encouraging. Eugenio Suarez is there. Anthony Rendon is there. Yeah, Bo Bichette is there. I mean, those guys are there, but Bo Bichette's not, that's a whole other avenue. So if you go outside the organization, and I'm looking at the rental side of it because I don't necessarily want to give up an arm and a leg for a third baseman, but I'm going to have to give up an arm and a leg for a Mike Trout if that's the option the Phillies want to go with as a right-handed power bat option. Or do you look inside? Otto Kemp, Carter Kieboom, whatever, however you say his name, are two minor league options the Phillies could have. Aiden Miller, of course, is the big hinge pin to all this thing, is really causing a lot of problems, is that Aiden Miller's out of play. So what do you target? Right-handed power bat or third baseman? And if you were Dave Dombrowski, do you have the luxury of waiting till late July in order to make this move? Or do you go now and you try to get these players in here now? Because, being a GM, president of baseball operations, whatever you are, it's a prideful job. And Dave's going to have to sit back and admit in May that his offseason plan, which I know is going to come to a shock to a lot of people, it didn't work. We saw that. Hell, I saw that in December. So do you target somebody now? Or do you think this team can hold on to the end of July? That's what made Bader exciting to watch. It was like finally having a guy that put the ball in play despite the untimely injury. Yeah, I 100% agree. I 100% agree. Elephant says right-handed power bat because I think we can adequately fill third. So you mentioned the Otto Kemp thing. So what are you doing with Bohm? Are you DFAing him? Sitting him? What are you doing with him? Trying to trade him? Because I'm taking the trade off the trade options off the blocks because we can't trade him. We've tried, right? Dombrowski telegraphed it all, just like Castellanos, and he screwed that thing up. We're not being able to trade Bohm. So, do you sit Bohm, leave him on the roster, or do you DFA him? Third overall pick, former third overall pick. I can't. That blows my mind that he was so high. What are you doing? Because if you keep Bohm on the roster, someone's got to go down. And there's two options. There's Felix Reyes, which I wouldn't be heartbroken about. I'd be heartbroken if they kept on the roster. Let's be first and foremost. But I wouldn't be heartbroken if they sent Reyes down. Or Party Boy. Does Party Boy go? And I don't think that's as easy as saying that. But what do you do, Elephant? You're going after a right-handed power bat from outside the organization, and you're going to fill third base internally. How you doing it? You mentioned Otto Kemp. I guess that's who you're talking about. And who goes down? Dombrowski will do his usual Band-Aid trade. That's not going to be good enough. I don't think that's good enough. It's never been good enough. Out of all the free agent, all the trade deadline moves, what was it? He's been here since 2021. When did he get here? 21. He's only had one successful trade deadline trades, and that was last year. And all these years, and I still think we're going to rue the day we gave up on Eduardo Tait and Mick Abel. I still think we are. But all right. Listen, everybody, I want to appreciate you jumping in. Our second show of the week, which will be our final show of the week. And then hopefully next week we'll get back in. Maybe I'll get 3 in. Maybe I'll get 4. It all kind of depends on on the Flyers, to be honest with you, because tomorrow night the Flyers will be back at it. Game 3 at the arena, and Mike Laro will be here post-game as he has you for Clear the Ice Game 3 and Game 4 on Saturday. So Thursday and Saturday, Mike Laro. I'll be back tomorrow on this network doing the Fightins Final. So I got you on the final game of the A's series. So you'll be seeing me tomorrow night doing some Phillies post-game. So hopefully we can get the final word rolling here a little bit more frequently again. It's supposed to be a 5-night-a-week show. We've just been having a lot of trouble fitting that in with all the post games. So, but again, I don't necessarily want to wish the end of the post games because that would mean the Flyers are done. So I got to be careful for what I wish for. I just kind of let things roll the way they are for now. But hopefully something gives here soon. So thank you for joining me tonight. Thank you for joining me this week. A very abbreviated 2-night-a-week kind of clip here, but I'll be back tomorrow for the Fightins Final. And then once again, here is everything that's coming up on the network for the rest of the week. Make sure you're tuned in on Friday night for Big Al and the Philly Friday Frenzy / Fightins Final combo as he'll kick off the Rocky series. And then on Saturday, the best of the week of It's a Wrap Sports starting at 8 a.m. And then Saturday night, you'll have the Phillies and Rockies and also Flyers and Hurricanes. I think I'm on the call for the Rockies. I know that. I have that game. And then on Sunday, the Philly AM Sports Show and the Phillies and Rockies post game. And you know what? I think we might do a final word on Sunday. I think we'll be able to fit one in. So let me mow that over, but I think we'll come back on Sunday with the final word. If I'm feeling up to it, which I should be. No, man. Thank you. Thank you for checking us out. Thank you for chiming in. Thank you for commenting along. And hopefully we'll see you again. All right, man. So Elephant says 150s in May is really bad. Yeah. It's really, really bad. All right, guys. You guys have a good rest of your Wednesday night. I will talk to you tomorrow and enjoy your late night hours. And thank you for being part of the show tonight. So we'll talk again tomorrow. Take care.